Oh, XP, the next blight in Year 5, Season 1. Right, first things first, during the showcase that they did, a live stream on, we were given a table of some description that showed the event, the XP, and then the percentage in which it has changed or is going to change and whatnot. It looked a little bit like this. Well, it is exactly this. I have no idea who did this, but after testing literally everything on this list, none of it is accurate. So yeah, that can just get binned. Like 475,000 for a challenging control point. We weren't even getting that on heroic. So yeah. Which does beg the question, okay, if I want to farm XP, what do I do now? Well, annoyingly, you've got two options. You've got the short version and the long version. The short version is public execution with as many directives as you can handle, and then follow it up with the bounty. Public executions are giving the most XP versus time invested, so they are pretty hefty. With like 4 or 5 directives, you're getting like 460,000 XP, which is not as much as we're obviously used to doing those pesky convoys, but for versus time invested, it is the most XP. Once you've done the public execution, they will drop a heroic bounty. You then want to do the heroic bounty, which is what I am doing here. And on 4 directives, I get like 588,000. So for doing a public execution and then a bounty, which you can do pretty quick, you're guaranteed to go up like a level and a bit. And if you put it onto 5 directives, you can near enough go up 2 levels through both. Bounties, heroic bounties, will pretty much give you a full level, adding in kill XP. So in terms of time invested versus XP gained, public executions and bounties are most likely going to be your best bet. And I say most likely because it is going to be dependent on the person, how quick you can get through them, and what it is you're entirely wanting to do. Now, there has been one argument with doing farming the open world events, like how regularly do they come up, which is a perfectly viable option if we were still talking about convoys. There are times where convoys just don't exist and you're forced to do other things, at which point any prediction or regular cumulative gains in XP kind of go out the window, because you're gaining a lot of XP and then all of a sudden it just stops. This is actually not true with public executions. I've seen a lot of people arguing that public executions can just disappear from the map. They're actually one of the most prominent, and there are 6 places plus a few others which basically always have a public execution or a very high chance to have a public execution, which is what I'm actually now going to be showing you. Now, I am going to be using the map app, so it will look like this. I will be going through it in the in-game map in a little bit, but just so I can show all of them, this is how we're going to look at it for now, and it's the red circles, like here, where the event will be. Now, I'm going to start from the left and go right, and just explain them. The one the arrow is pointing at right now, this will either be a public execution or a territory control. Quick and easy to get to, you just fast travel to the DZ West gate. Up next, we have this one here. This is pretty much always a public execution. I think during my time of testing this, it was a propaganda broadcast once. There's a safe house very close nearby. Then we have this one here at the bottom of Potomac Park, just below the little lake bit, under the safe house. This will always be a public execution, either Black Tusk or Outcast. However, it doesn't always spawn. Then there are these two. Now, these can either be territory controls or public executions. However, I've always noticed that at least one of them is a public execution, sometimes both, but I've never really seen any of them both be territory controls. There is a third one that spawns a little bit further in, around here. However, due to the absolute maze that this area is, I don't really recommend doing it, just because you're going to be losing time for your efficient farming. But if you want to do it, there's typically around 3 there. There's also another area in there that always spawns a public execution. However, I always find it an absolute ball ache to get into it, just because that entire area is an absolutely horrid maze. It's up to you, but you'll see them pretty regularly in that area. Up next we have this area here. This is either a territory control, a propaganda outpost, or a public execution. However, I typically always go here to farm this area anyway, because on the other side of the building there is an elite territory control. These don't give that good XP anymore, but it's always good to get a named enemy, and upon completing it you get 3 of the lock boxes for potentially more loot, which is handy. Then there are these 2. These will always be public executions. They are controlled by the hyenas. They're pretty safe, pretty easy to do, and their bounties are normally in the same area that are typically either here or here. So yeah, those 2 are actually pretty damn good ones to farm. Up next we have this one here. This is either a public execution or a propaganda broadcast. This one's really easy to do because literally just above it, like it might as well be in the same circle, is a mission that you can fast travel to, and yeah, problem solved. Then we have this one here inside the building. Fast travelling to the gate at DZ East will get you there pretty quick. There's also a territory control that's normally there on the way. Now 90% of the time this is a public execution. I think I can recall it being a territory control once. The only annoying thing with this public execution is, for some weird reason, the bounty is always over bloody here, which is annoying and frustrating. There is one more, which is over by District Union Arena, which is pretty much roughly here. This will always spawn a public execution. The only issue is, and why I've not included it, is because the third party is real here. There's always something else going on, a territory control, resource convoys going through it, a damn rescue operation, and it can get annoying. I've not included it simply just because if you're not really that well equipped or you're a newer player, that's a very good area to get your butt kicked in. So hopefully that gives a decent insight as to where you can find public executions pretty damn regularly. Now I will be hopefully linking the Discord image that I have of what I've just shown in the description, so if you would like the image, I will be there'll be a link for it. But typically around here, it's not there at the moment, but around here is a public execution. You can see the safe house. As you can see here, there are 3 public executions going on right now. I would typically suggest doing the 2 leftmost. This is the one near the elite territory control that I was talking about. Sometimes you can go to the territory control and farm that as well, which is pretty damn handy. It's something I like doing. There are a few along here that you can do. However, this entire area is third party central. I hate doing it, so I imagine a lot of you guys will, so I don't recommend, but there are a lot. This is the one that I was just saying where the bounty pisses off to the other side of the map. You can fast travel to that DZ gate pretty damn quick and easy. There are also 2 around here. They can be useful. It's entirely up to you. Again, you can get third party. They're either a propaganda outpost or a public execution, but you can just come straight out of that safe house and go straight to them. These 2 right here are basically always there. There is obviously going to be more than what I'm showing, but you've got a good variety of options that you're able to utilize. This one here is pretty much always there, fast traveling to bank headquarters. This is the one by DZ East. At the moment they are territory controls, but sometimes they are public executions. Now the one thing I'm currently working on is to see if it's worthwhile doing a load of public executions, build up a crap ton of bounties and then just farm bounties, or is it better off going public execution bounty, public execution bounty. There's also another one that tends to spawn in this area here, however it can be a bit of a ball ache. It's not too far from the safe house though. Up next we have control points. As you can see on this, we have gone through as a complete team and done every single control point. We didn't just do the control points, we did a few other fiddly little bits in between, like if we were running there and we went past the public execution, we would do the public execution. If the bounty was close by, we would then also do the bounty. In the 4 hours it took us, we got 47 levels. We have worked out that a decent team can probably do this in about 4.5 hours on 4-player scaling. We also did have 5 directives, which kind of added a bit of extra fun to it. But with 5 directives in about 4.5 hours, completing every single control point, you will gain roughly, including kill XP for just the control points, between 35 and 38 levels for 4.5 hours work. I will leave that to you as to whether you think that is worth it. Personally, I don't. I more enjoyed it for the fact that it was 4 hours of 4 bros running around being idiots and doing absolute dumb stuff, killing everything we could, and just, pretty green map. The plus sides to it are you can get a lot of resources from it. A lot of resources. There is also the potential to be getting the exotic components from the chests. Saying that though, we did this as well yesterday. All 4 players, the entire time, every single control point, not a single one of us got an exotic component. During this run, for the recording that I have just done, I got 3 exotic components, someone else got 2, the 3rd player got absolutely 0, and I believe the 4th player got 1. So it's kind of sporadic as to whether you do get them. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a good farm, but it's pretty chill and pretty easy to do if you've got a good group of people that you wish to just mess around with. The levels are not too bad, I would argue. I don't personally think it's worth an absolute time investment, but it's something that we can do, mess around and play around with. Anyway, that is going to be it for this video. Just staring at maps the entire time. Have fun, good luck, and don't die. It's bad for the health.